Hey, welcome to the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. Thank you, Harry, for that rendition of Sketchbook. You knock it out of the park every time. You are a master. All right, here we go. The Hugs Not Drugs podcast, episode 52. This is exciting. One whole year. Johari's window, seeing clearly yourself, recovery through self-awareness. Johari's window. What the heck is that? Seeing yourself clearly, recovery through self-awareness. Yeah, you had other titles for this, didn't you? Yeah, I was thinking of that. Johari's window. What you know, what you hide, what others see. Yeah, I like the first one first. All right, how about another one you had? The window to recovery. Johari's window and the journey within. I think I'm getting sick. What's the third one? Looking through Johari's window, honesty, humility, and healing. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting a little nauseous. What's number 4? The 4 pains of recovery. Johari's window explained. You know, you hit a home run with Johari's window, seeing yourself clearly, recovery through self-awareness. Keep it simple. Hugs not drugs. You know what I mean? Wow, that's a good phrase. All right, why don't you do the commercial? I thought you never ask. John Forlenza-Bailey sponsors the Hugs Not Drugs podcast, and he wrote 2 books that he's trying to sell on here and break even. The Road to Wellness Workbook. This workbook is designed to provide education, emotional support, inspiration to persons suffering from addiction. It offers step-by-step lessons to people striving to turn their lives around regarding abstinence, relapse prevention, family dynamics, and self-assessment to continue to discover self day by day. Recovery's up to you. Mentors help, journals help. You must exchange and surrender destructive behaviors for constructive ways of handling day-to-day stressors of life. No one deserves to continue to suffer from addiction. Get better, do the work. And then the second book, we're going to talk about the transformation of Dr. Uggs. My favorite story because it's about me. You know, I'm not much, but I'm really all I think about. The transformation of Dr. Uggs is an original fairy tale. Some people call it an allegory, and it explains the progression of the disease of chemical dependency. It's not intended to be a story about blaming others for the acquisition of an illness. This fairy tale or allegory is intended to explain, not to blame. It is a story of discovery, insight, acceptance, and finally the right choices to live drug-free if one is chemically dependent. Okay, we're going to call John G, and he's going to give you the real deal about Johari's window, seeing yourself clearly, recovery through self-awareness.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. And today's episode is going to be about Johari's window, seeing yourself clearly, recovery through self-awareness. It captures the educational nature of the episode while connecting directly to recovery. And I'd like to introduce our other guests.
This is John Barleycorn here. John G is our narrator and expert extraordinaire. So God bless you. Shut up, Dr. Uggs.
So let's get right into it here. The history of Johari's window. The Johari's window was developed in 1955 by American psychologists Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingman. They combined parts of their first names, Joe from Joseph and Harry from Harrington, to create the name Johari. The goal was simple. How can people understand themselves better while improving relationships with others? Although originally created for leadership development and group dynamics, the Johari window has become valuable in psychotherapy, addiction recovery, coaching, education, and marriage counseling. And the Johari's window, it consists of 4 windows. The first one is the open area. That's the things that are known to me, that which is known to others, honesty, authenticity, and this is the place where recovery thrives. John Barleycorn, you have any observations about that?
Yes, I do. When I first got sober, I've got my hand over Dr. Uggs's mouth right now because he wants to be so smart. Yeah,
God.
get your hand away. I just want to
Oh,
say something. I just want to say something. With Johari's window, these guys got paid for this research. This is like simple stuff. Yeah, but you don't understand, Dr. X. They were the first ones to discover how important this concept was, and we've been using it ever since. So put that in your hat and smoke it. No, don't do that. Never mind. When I first got sober, I wanted people to believe that I was doing great. Eventually, I learned that admitting fear and asking for help made me stronger, not weaker. So Johari's window is vital to me.
yeah. And that open area, and you talk about the open window, I could identify with that. If we're honest, we could see things clearly and authentically. And it reminds me of when I used to be a fireman. We always wanted to know where there was an open window. And if you didn't, you had trouble.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we talk about the hidden areas here. What's known to me, what's hidden from others, the secrets, the shame, the fear. Yeah, I don't keep secrets except where I hide the cookies. Oh my God.
oh Lord, oh Lord, put them away.
Yeah, put him away is right. He's going to screw this up unfathomable. Let's see. Let me talk about the blind spots here because picture yourself. This is so cool. This window, this whole theory. He says picture a window with four window frames. The first window frame has what I know about myself and everybody knows about me. So that window is something that will keep me uh, healthy. That window is going to help me with my personal growth. But then on the next side of that window is another rectangular window, and it has blind spots where I can see what's going on, but nobody else knows about me. So it is really uh, an interesting dynamic. I could really screw myself up by staying as sick as my secrets. One of the biggest challenges is telling on myself, as we all have been discussing in the last few podcasts. So I'm gonna share something about my sponsor. Uh, he pointed out my behaviors that I never noticed. When on the fourth and fifth step, I asked my sponsor, when do I have to do the fourth and fifth step with you? He says, when do you want to get well? Well, I wanted to get well, but the lights were on, but nobody was home. I still was like acting as if I was a psychiatric patient and I was out in the general population. So I mean, it could have been easy that I was going to get hospitalized again if I didn't get with the program. So I wanted to get with the program, and I got a sponsor named Morgan, and Morgan sold yachts. It was somebody I wouldn't even have drank with. I was like really low bottom. And he sat there in an Episcopal church and he saw me uh, at my worst, trying desperately to write out my resentments, the cause and effect of them, and what it did to me security wise, sex relation wise, fear wise, and self esteem wise. And then he would ask me things like, what part did you play in it? And I didn't even know what he was talking about. So he dropped that immediately because I wasn't ready for that. It took me another 5 years to learn that. But he was trying to put a mirror in front of me saying, your problem is you. And so I learned some valuable lessons. And by year 5, I did fourth and fifth step again because I was getting ready to drink and didn't know it. I was what we were calling BUD, BUD, building up to a drink or a drug. So I was budding like crazy, and I was an alcohol and drug counselor. 5 years of sobriety. Oh, I know everything, but I was really budding. And I told that to Morgan, and Morgan said, do another fourth and fifth step. I've been doing fourth and fifth steps at the same retreat for over 40 years. So it is invaluable to have feedback from others and to listen and learn to listen. So that's about my blind spots. You want to talk about the unknown area, uh, too, John G? Let's keep. I've got him tied up in a corner now. He's heavily bound, so it's just going to be you and me for a bit.
Well, it's no secret where the Oreos are for him, so we'll keep him busy with some cookies, and we just move into this area of what nobody knows. And yeah, that unknown area, and I think about how for years I was doing this, even though I had become a camel, so to speak. I could go 24 hours without a drink, and went through the initial resentments, and I understood the powerlessness and the unmanageability, which, in rehab, they put a mirror up to my face, and I did this very extensive first step where I was writing about episodes of powerlessness and then episodes of unmanageability. And the true mirror was when I had written about this, and then I go back to the counselor, and she says, well, I don't want to read that. You need to read that. And before that happened, she had asked me, John, are you an alcoholic? Are you an addict? And I hesitated. And she says, oh, okay. And so I sat there and read like 39 pages about these 20 episodes, 10 on powerlessness and 10 on unmanageability. And that was where the image in the mirror truly hit me, that I was able to make that transition. And so I kind of went really at that point, and that was an early recovery. I went from being the ostrich, putting my head in the sand and living in that denial. And in spite of the fact that I had made all these observations about myself, it wasn't until I had the reflection of my own words having been read by me that I was able to remove all doubt.
You
And
are a great speaker, John. I've heard you speak at meetings and tell your story. And you were sharing with people what nobody knows, your untapped strengths, your hidden talents, your unexpected resilience. And and sometimes people don't get heavy into their trauma at all when they tell their story. It's not the time and place. It's more it's not really going to be appreciated at that point in time, a lot of times. So trauma had not doesn't surface a lot of times when you talk, and potential waiting to be discovered is where it's all out when you share your story. When I share my story, I get the same thing. People say barleycorn, cheese. We never thought that you were that kind of person. Well, that's true, because the same person will drink again. And you and I, you with 37 years of recovery,
yes,
and me with 46. That's a lot of water under the bridge and a lot of changing of our personality. And that's something that mental health professionals don't even get a lot of times. They don't even understand that we can change personalities. It's not complete. It's the transformation is never complete, but we have done some great things by don't drink, go to meetings and pray. And the principles and values of the program, which I think are the first three steps: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Let's talk about Freud for a minute and conscious versus subconscious, sir.
sure. Well, some psychologists, they emphasize what goes on with the conscious mind. And while others, like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, they argued that the unconscious processes strongly influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And they likened it to the particularly Freud likened it to the idea of an iceberg. And if you look at an iceberg, only 10% of it is above the water, and 90% of the mass of it is underneath. And Freud was really into the unconscious mind. And Jung was more into he was into symbolism and spirituality. So
Hmm.
he really one of the great quotes that he shares about shame, and we'll talk about, recovery often involves bringing hidden patterns into awareness, and once we do that, then we can tap into those things like, our untapped strengths, our hidden talents, unexpected resilience. People don't realize that they could stay sober, and then they deal with them. And in some cases, people have a greater willingness to deal with that trauma, but that usually comes with longer term recovery. And the beauty of that is that when you get to a point in your recovery where you really can open up about all your secrets, not only are they less traumatic, but you can even laugh about them sometimes, and it becomes a gift to others. And then they realize, you know what, that's something that I spoke, that I've been through, and I didn't want to share about it. And then you have the opportunity to share about areas of trauma that people were afraid to, and that was the case for me. And I've had the experience that sharing about my own traumatic experiences. I did it one time in a federal prison with about 100 people there, and I was talking about my experience with child sex abuse, and all of a sudden I could see like the lights going off in different people, and I'm just looking around the room, and you could literally see the people that were directly affected by
Hmm.
that kind of trauma, and some of them approached me afterwards. I had
Hmm.
the opportunity to work with them personally, one on one, several of these individuals, and it was really fulfilling to be able to share that and to help someone work through their own pain.
Yeah,
So
can I say something, John, about that?
sure.
When you came out of hiding with that and you shared that, then they in turn went to that second window pane and came out of hiding with their information. So their childhood learning and their automatic responses, they were now growing up. They were thinking like men to solve a problem, not childhood learning and automatic reactions, because you led the way.
Yeah, that really was quite an experience to be able to let go of that and to watch others grow as a result as well. So, which enabled people to start. So we work throughout denial, right? And it's, I think about the ostrich, with its head on the ground or head in the sand. And, denial, Denial, don't even notice I am lying, or don't even know I am lying. And then we work through the resentments, because we have that connection, realizing that people have the same secrets, same behaviors. We're all pretty much the same. We're all, committing the same seven deadly sins. And then, we start working towards the seven cardinal virtues. And then we work through our fear, 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 false evidence appearing real. Or we could forget everything and run, or some people say F everything and run. Or we can face everything and recover. And fear is neither good nor bad. It's how we react to it, what we do with it. And John, I've heard you say about how, we want to run, but maybe that's the time to approach. And if we have that calmness, if we stop, 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 take a breath, maybe take another breath, then observe, and then we could pick a behavior, which is, you know, um, we get the courage through the encouragement of others, encouragement, right? And then we could face these fears. And so, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, but the brave man can face what he has to face, or the
Yeah.
brave woman.
Yeah, the Johari window provides a practical way to make the unconscious more conscious through honest self-reflection and trusted feedback. And yeah, when I think that I don't want to do something, that's exactly probably when I need to do something. That's the next right thing. And DBT talks about that a lot with emotional regulation. When I'm full of fear, I have to do the opposite. I have to be courageous in spite of my fear and have faith in spite of my fear. And that lessens the fear and walks me through it. You and I have experience doing this, and it's still tough every time we're fearful, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So today, one of the things that I use and I teach the guys at the prison is a technique called RAIN, RAIN, and it's when we have a feeling and we know that we have the potential to become fearful or have a fight response. If we're going to get angry, if we're going to get confrontational or explosive, I could allow myself to experience this RAIN process, which RAIN is to first recognize, well, what am I feeling? What am I feeling in my body? And have an awareness of my breathing and my heart rate as I'm experiencing this. And then I'll remember what this was like to feel this way before. And then what I'll do is take a moment to allow myself to experience the feeling as it is without judging myself, just realizing, okay, I'm starting to feel angry right now. And then I investigate so I could take a look at what is the source of this? What is the need that I have or the need that I see in someone else that is causing me to have this fear, and to have this anger based on a fear of not getting a need met? And then lastly, N, which is non-identification. I come to the realization this is a feeling. It's going to pass, and I am not, in fact, my feelings. I could not identify with the feeling and say, this is just something I'm experiencing, but this is not the essence of who I am. And then I can, from there, in a calm, settled way, move forward with the best possible behavior in that situation.
Let it rain, let it rain, let it rain. I like to explain why this matters in recovery. Recovery is about enlarging the open area. How? Honest inventories, sponsorship, meetings, therapy, prayer, meditation, feedback from trusted people, making amends. Each one opens the window a little wider. I know, you bastards. You locked me up in that thing. You're not nice people. You think you're nice people. You're not nice people. So you're telling me that everyone knows that I'm stubborn and I'm ignorant and I'm a brat?
Yes, doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, and now you know it too.
The
Rats
windows are
and
opening.
Mises, rats and Mises is all I got to say. All right.
Yeah. So, well, is there a downside to this? You know, um, this is a very, very powerful tool, and we used properly, it will, it'll give us a spiritual experience. But we need to be careful here because, there could be some. It needs to be used wisely. Because we're getting into some really heavy stuff here. So, if we're working through this, potential challenges could be, feedback delivered without kindness. It could feel like criticism. And how often have I seen people run out of a meeting or they just didn't want to face because someone would come in a loving way but try to tough love them, when they weren't ready for it. And so we have to be careful how we present our feedback. Present it in a way that's loving and caring and non-judgmental and identifying. And then oversharing before trust is established may create vulnerability without support. And sometimes that's experience, or even when people share at meetings, they have this feeling like, gee, maybe I didn't need to talk about that. So if you're working with someone that's sharing something heavy, or if you're just experiencing being with someone at a meeting, that's just experienced and shared something really heavy, maybe it's good to approach them afterwards and get a little bit of encouragement and some, reflection and more or less, show that express empathy as opposed to just letting people hang out to dry, after they've put that laundry out there.
Well, maybe they should just talk to me. Oh, for God's sake, no. Barleycorn here. No, 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 no. I understand, if somebody really wants to get well, you know, there's nothing that you can say that's going to dissuade that, even if you don't have a great articulation, even if Dr. Uggs talked to them, hey, hello. Yeah, but but if they're on the fence, that is what John's talking about here, John G. He's talking about we need to be kind. I mean, the kindness matters, and we need to be very supportive of and praise their vulnerability. That's exactly how they're going to get better. And be vulnerable ourselves. Be a good role model. That's enough out of me with that. John G., you ready to close this out?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not tough. I'm like Burt Reynolds. I'm semi-tough, So the Johari window reminds us that recovery is not simply about stopping a behavior. It's about discovering who we truly are. Every honest conversation, every fearless inventory, every act of humility opens another pane of the window. As the window opens, fear loses its grip, relationships deepen, and the light of recovery shines brighter. John Barleycorn.
I've learned that what I couldn't see almost kept me sick. What my recovery friends saw and shared with kindness helped set me free. And I've decided to expand my open area. From now on, everyone will know I still occasionally talk to my refrigerator. Oh, geez.
Oh, I think that open window is bringing in a foul wind. So remember, recovery isn't about becoming someone else. It's about removing the barriers that keep you from becoming who you were created to be. So, until next time, keep opening the window. Together we heal. And Harry, take it out for us.
Love you guys. Thank you.